So I had the privilege to meet you at Sundance for your second short film, and now with your third short film, Boa. You just had your Locarno Film Festival premiere, and they don't select a lot of shorts. They're very, very slim with their picking. So just congratulations, in getting to one of the premier film festivals in the world, and especially Locarno. And now you're making the rounds. You are doing the film festival journey. I'm speaking to Alexandre Dostie. The first takeaway that I had from this film is that Jesus was a stud. He's in great shape. I was wondering what his workout regimen might have been like.
Leg day every day.
Leg day on Tuesdays. Mankind, we're mere mortals, but here sometimes there's a special species, there's a super species. And so I'm trying to dissect this film, and I know you're a very politicized person. You're an artist has a lot of things on his mind and has a very extensive toolbox. I just wanted to get a sense of why this story, and underneath the surface, what's working underneath the surface?
Wow, we're opening a can of worm here. It's been very difficult to talk about that film. I had to sell the film a lot to get the money to make it, and every time I found myself telling another story about the film, and even lying to get the money. At some point you got to do what you got to do. And what I realized is that if you could say like it's a negative, like you don't know what you're talking about with that film, but the flip side, which is super positive and was my intention from the get-go, was to give space to the viewer or the reader when they read the script to project themselves in that strange film. And it's something I did not do before. So yeah, you said I might wanted to test new stuff with that film, and yeah, I like to tread in new water from one film to another, but still I think you can feel my voice in it. But yeah, I think I was in reaction, and I was haunted by new stuff, and I don't know, I wanted that film to be mysterious, and I wanted that mystery to be contagious to the viewer, but I did not know it would still be a mystery for me now that the film was done and I have to talk about it. But I found it beautiful, and I found it relevant at that moment in time, because I feel that art in this epoch has become very prescriptive. Yeah. And you watch a film, or you start reading a book or a TV show, and after 5 minutes you're like pretty sure what's gonna unfold. I know the political stance of that piece. I know who's a good guy, bad guy, that stuff. And I think a part of me was in reaction to that. I think we might be in a little crisis of fiction, of the imaginary fiction. And I think I wanted to tread into those water and develop a fiction that would kind of even elude me, Yeah. And I think that's, if I have to talk about Boa, I think this is a good place to start.
In mythology, the Boa represents duality, power, creation, danger, death. And I want to say this encompasses a lot. There's a lot of that with the running ideas that you have in this film. And your text takes shots. It takes punches. It punches at patriarchy with eroticism. It stabs institutions with a little bit of anarchy. Is this a response to sort of like the societal norms that we're in, or just the political landscape that we inhabit nowadays?
I guess that if it is, it's mostly unconscious. And I think I really wanted to approach this film in a ground that was more of the realm of, unconscious dreams, symbolics, things that have colonized my mind, and that I could maybe flip on its head to see what different story it can tell. So that was really my approach. I was not like, when I had to defend the film to get it financed, I was not pulling on the ropes of the epoch. I was not I knew you could see these themes, hierarchy, patriarchy, you could see them in the movie or in the script. But in my heart was not pulling at those strings, even though I knew they were there. It was more of trying to tell a different story with the same symbols.
And I particularly like the casting choice in Dimitri Dore, who everybody, if anybody's seen this film, it's Bruno Reidal, Confessions of a Murderer. It's almost like not a spitting image, but I mean, it harkens back to a specific time. And so he has this great face where you can't put your finger on where he's from, and which planet he's from. I want to get a sense of A, how you found this actor, B, what was it like working with him? Specifically, like, one of my favorite scenes is when he really becomes the boa. And I think it's so great how it's orchestrated, how it's designed, how it's physically presented to us. I mean, I felt like as if I was watching National Geographic film.
Well, I'm so glad that you're talking about Dimitri, because that film could not be possible without his complete surrender to that, and his understanding as well, as even though we were working a mystery, he kind of surrendered to the mystery.
Yeah.
And Dimitri, well, he's from Planet Letonia. He was born there and adopted and grew up in France. Okay. His background is circus and theater. He's a very sensitive, funny, larger-than-life person. Really love that guy dearly. So how did I find him? Well, I was when I wrote the script, I was like, I need a French actor between, let's say, 25 and 35 years old, and I just went Googling, and building that image, that bank of image, and Dimitri was in there because of Bruno Reidal, and I watched Bruno Reidal, and I was blown away by his performance. The film as well is great, but Dimitri's performance is incredible. Like, he really brings that character to life, because it's based on true story. Yeah. And he's very dim and grim, but at the same time you discover that this character have an intimate life that is very rich. And I was like, who is that guy? Because I found the level of play so good. So I Googled more about him, and I found a radio interview with him at Radio France or something. And I was expecting to be that very, darky guy, dark tone, somber tone or something. It was the total opposite. Like, Dimitri is a fiery, super expressive guy, he loves Tina Turner. and I was like, okay, so that's the range of the guy, and it just blew me away. So I was like, I need to meet that guy. And so I sent him the script. He read it, wrote back. He was like, I want to be the first person that Alex meet. It took a 2-hour train early in the morning, and we met in a cafe in France. That's how I did all my casting, was in cafe. And we arrived at the same time at the cafe, and we spent an hour and a half together. And I mean, it was such a good time. Like, he really did the film. He already started to grow his fingernails. He was like, I don't know if it's a good idea, I can chop them, but I was like, no, I think it's brilliant, And we had such a good time, And I met other actors after, but Dimitri was, I think it was like a coup de foudre, from the get-go. Yeah. At some point, somebody on the set, I think it was a guy at the location, he was like, I read the script, it's impossible to make that film. And I was with my DOP, and we were about to shoot, and we're like, it was playing in our fear. We were like, yeah, of course, it's impossible. How the fuck are we gonna do that? But he said at the same time, he said, you know what they say, they didn't know it was impossible, so they did it, you know? So we just kind of took that phrase and ran with it. But, you know, the transformation scene was really a part of that. How are we gonna do it, you know? And I think it was just like, the idea was to keep it simple. It's just like, it was like, there's this guy who for me, like his character, Leonid, he fled a life. We don't know where he's coming from, but he's trying to find himself in another realm, you know, very, you know, it's very contained, you know, there's rules, you gotta follow them and then you flourish, you know. But still there's this power in him, there's this force, there's this repressed self that he tried to flee, but that comes back, you know, at the worst time possible. And he tried to tame that thing, but it takes over, you know. So, and it was in a very basic, the transformation for us was very basic. It's like, it's the symbols takes over. He becomes he embodies that symbol. It's the takeover of the unconscious, and he's at a point where he's not thinking like we are. It's not a realm of logical. It's a metaphysical, mythical thinking that takes over. Thing is, so going to that basic understanding of the symbolic of the snake and everything, it just became a very physical exercise. Yes. And Dimitri is he's a small piece of man, very capable, but he's a little guy, you know. And he went to the gym. We built a program for him, and he went to the gym and never went to a gym in his life. And he started training like a month and a half before the shoot, and he just went all in. So all the lizard crawl, you know, it was. I had this idea. It was part of his transformation, and he started lizard crawling in his life, you know, before the shoot. And on set, you know, there's a scene where he crawls out, literally out of a hole, naked, and I mimicked it for him. Like it was 7 a.m, and I just got down in the dirt, and I just showed him how I wanted it to be, and he just went all in. So, you know, it was to realize that aspect of the film was just like regress to that animal state, you know, and it was a lot of fun to do, but another kind of it was a strange bet because we had little time to pull it off, but yeah, in the end, Dimitri really involved itself prior to the film, and that's how we could pull out this animality from himself.
Yeah. He really morphed into.
He did.
And you know, you worked with Vincent Biron. I believe you worked with him on all 3 of your shorts.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, he's a great DP. Does a lot of great work, features, shorts. And so upon the first viewing of this film, I'm always looking at the visual aspects, but here I think lighting is like, I mean, you guys chose the most impossible locations to light, but it was so much fun watching this film through the breakouts of light and the omission of light and that aspect of darkness and that interplay. How difficult was it, or how much fun was it for you and Vincent to come up with those visual aspects?
Well, like from the get-go with Vincent, we really wanted the film to look like painting, and we composed the first tableau, the first shot scene of the film as tableau, you know. And we wanted to introduce movement to that as the film progressed, and that the character opens up to the outside world and gets back into his body. The camera work would evolve as well, but starting with tableau would embody the stillness of the character and also bring us to a more like epoch film, you know, that we wanted to convey at the beginning. So we watch a whole bunch of paintings, but you know, love Caravaggio, love Goya, love what's his name, Gustave Dore, and so we got inspiration from these guys, and we wanted, you know, the clair obscur, you know, work, and the ténèbres. There's clair obscur, where is like there's like light that kind of carve shadows.
Yeah.
But I learned there's another process that the painters use. I think it's called ténébris or tenebrium or something like that, and it's the inverted. It's like it's just shadows and darkness engulfing and kind of strangling light.
Yeah.
So we thought it was really conveying the inner turmoil of the character. So we worked that way. And Vincent is amazing, and he did an amazing job, and the whole crew actually. But it left me so little time to fucking roll the tape and get the scene. I think all my film have been like that. All the film that you see from me now, they go max to 4 takes. And there will be one scene will go to 7, but it's gonna be the only take that we go to 7. So mostly of Boa is like max 4 take, because there was so much work put into the lighting.
There's a lot of setups. There's a lot of setups on this.
And it's we lit real monasteries, and these places are so hard to lit. They're huge places, So we really tried to work with like natural light and then improve it, but it's still an incredible challenge.
And like your previous films, I think you really got a very acute understanding of how to use sound and soundtrack, and we find that here again. It's very playful. You almost mock. And I love how it ends, but you mockingly are able to play with that idea of the epoch, but also bring into the real world. Just talk to me about that creative aspect. How much fun you have with building the worlds with the soundscape.
It was a lot of fun, and the artist behind that is a guy named Ilia Gafouri, and the idea at the beginning in my mind was like the music you hear in the score have to be derived from the sound of the monastery, so it kind of build that fever dream, so it's very organic and very filtered by the characters. So that was the idea, and Ilya just kind of really dig that process, and it would be a new process for him, so it was very excited doing that. And at the same time, we both knew it was really important to do it correctly. We could not half-ass it, because there's very little dialogues. So what you hear is really important to convey the feelings of each scene, So the monastery really breathe the ambience and the evolving mindset of the character. And so that was the idea, and all sound design was really carefully made to bring the locations alive and the minds of the character alive and its own little thing. And then the process of music was just like kind of infuse that in some kind of a partition that would be more like musique concrète, or something like that. And it was the first time I had to be like 90%, maybe not 90% of the time, but maybe, 75% of the time, I was with Ilya doing that stuff, A lot of time, my experience was like, hey, sound designer, here's my idea, hair music composer, here's my idea, and they would go with it, and they bring you back for a couple of sessions. But with Ilya, we really spent a lot of time together building it, and I love that. I love to be part of it.
Yeah, because each sequence demands its own, like, almost, I don't want to say soundtrack, but demands its own set of audible variables.
Yes, there's really the variation that is part of the dramatic. It's not just like a copy. That's the intensity part, copy paste. It's just like, how do we crescendo that all the way to the climax? And I loved working with Ilya on that.
And another one of your collaborators is Hany Ouichou. I want to
We shout out to Hany Ouichou.
Hany Ouichou, who was at Locarno with a feature film as well. So he's climbing up there. When you present him the script for the first time, he must want to murder you because it's not done in the backdrop of a safe little town in Quebec or something. It's asking for production to take place elsewhere, and there's real costs and finance structures in place. So how is it to think outside of the box, not only in terms of what you want to say and what you want to put out there and what you want to test for yourself, but how is it to say, hey, there's no limitations in what I want to do. If I want to set a story somewhere else outside of Canada, then I'm going to give myself permission to try that. And so I want to get a sense of how does that conversation look like, that first conversation where you have your producer who's got your back, who's saying, "Hey, I wanna push the limitations of what a small Quebecois or Canadian short might look like."
Well, you have to convince him. I know Hany for a long time now, and he always had my back, and none of the film I made today would be possible without him. But still, he knows me good. But when I wrote Boa, the first draft of it, I wrote it in the residency in France.
Yeah.
And at the end of the 6 weeks, I was stoked. I was like, there's something in there. I'm going to take some time off before going back to Canada to try to hook in a French producer in that, because we're going to need them, because I need to come back here to shoot. And it was all, taking place in my mind. And then I sent the script to Hany, and Hany was like, I'm not making this. It was like, I don't know how, it's too complicated, Yeah. You don't have to make another short, like, you already wrote 2 feature film, where are the script? Let's make these film, And I don't know, I was really possessed by the Boa idea, and in my mind it was all unfolding like seamlessly in front of me, I only needed the money, So, there was a little back and forth, and I had to make a couple more version of the script. Yeah. But by then, a French producer was chiming in like, we're going all in with you guys, and I think that helped reel Hany in. But he knew it would be a wild ride, and it would be complicated. But he trusted me, and I think he saw maybe something for himself.
Of course.
You know what? Because people look to films and they don't realize how much work there is in there, from all departments, but production as well. Just to have a producer understand what you want to do with such a cryptic and strange film is something. Mm-hmm. Like, not all producers are gonna take that step, but then the puzzle to bring it to life. I think 90% of producers they drop the ball at that part, But for me, Hany's not only a producer; he's a very sensitive soul. He's an artist, and I think there was something in there that was moving him as well, and he decided to embark on that journey with me, and I'm so grateful. And I think you see it, like, you're on set and everybody's is going to their limits, but everybody knows that there's something. The mood's good, Like, sometimes you got to straighten your T's and you dot your I's. But once it's done, everybody's happy to be there because we're doing something that we've never thought would take place,
The first time I had met you was at Sundance, and I was fascinated by the fact that I think you were involved in poetry, and you seem to be you are not only a filmmaker, but you have great respect for the written word,
Yeah.
and for creating dialogue and to creating characters. And now next year you're also a playwright.
Yeah.
And but that's another aspect to you that I find fascinating. Just in a nutshell, how did that sort of like embed itself, and why did you find that you wanted to make something that was fit for live performance?
Well, I think the nutshell is like we're all just channel, you know. That's how I feel as an artist. Is like I'm channeling. I don't choose stuff. Mm-hmm. Stuff are choosing me, and sometimes there's things that I could not see, like writing theater play. But then somebody shines the light on that possibility, and you know, a week later you're writing a theater play, and it feels like the most natural thing in the world, you know. So basically, it's just that. It's channeling ideas, story, images, characters, and finding the best way to bring them to life. They want to live, you know, so they decide, you know. So, and I loved writing theater, because the play that's going to take place au Centre du Théâtre d'Aujourd'hui in Montreal next January. Contrary to Boa, where there's no dialogue, that play called Kiki et la colère, it's bars over bars over bars over bars for 85 pages, and it felt so good to get in that state of mind, you know. And it's a part of me, as silence is a part of me, apparently. But I did not decide that. I did not decide that I was this kind of artist. It's just like it asks for you to carry it home, you know. And that's what I do with poetry, and now I'm doing it with theater, and it's a good time.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.